question. So we get you guys both. I'd like you both to answer, if you would, on what was. This is kind of a big question, but it's because I want to share you with them. What was it like before you awakened, and then how's your life now and your life after awakening?
The change for me wasn't that dramatic. I had an awakening experience in 1976, and pretty much after that, I didn't have much suffering in my life. But I had a lot of doubt. In fact, I didn't even understand that awakening meant that you didn't suffer. So I actually didn't even appreciate that very much. Which, looking back, is kind of weird. And listening to, I didn't even appreciate that other people were suffering. Because I just didn't see life that way. But I still had doubt. I mean, if somebody said, "Oh, are you awakened?" No. No, why? Because the big lights haven't gone off. And God doesn't come down and sit in my lap every day. And my awareness isn't so fantastically broad that I can't even think about my work. So I figured, I had a bunch of concepts, but I didn't suffer. So what awakening was for me was a dissolving of the doubt about what I've been experiencing. And with that dissolving of the doubt comes this ability to just appreciate every single thing that's going on. Whether it's a headache, literally, aching head, or some beautiful music. And it doesn't mean I'm blissed out about having a headache. But the headache's just there. And there's no suffering over it. It just hurts. And then it eventually goes away. Just like the beautiful music is there, and it's just beautiful. And then it ends.
My experience was very different. About 20 years ago, I had what I would say God did come down and sit in my lap. And it was so blissful and so unexpected. I felt like I had entered another dimension. And I had no idea that that could happen. I was seeing visions, and I had never seen a vision before in my life. I was hearing inside my heart truth, and I was hearing it as if it was a voice outside. So this went on for a while, and I thought this was enlightenment, and the nature of love was revealed to me. And I was just stunned into this place. There was no fear. There was just pure love and happiness and bliss. And then it faded. It took about 2 or 3 years, and it faded away. And it just was kind of a memory. And I knew it was a possibility, but it was still just kind of a memory. And then it became a sadness because I really missed that experience. And I didn't know how to get it back. And then it became really a deep sadness and a deep suffering. And I tried to get it back by joining different spiritual groups, and it became kind of an intellectual exercise, sort of. It became something that I did in my mind to try to bring it back. And it was sort of okay, but it wasn't very fulfilling. And so then that kind of stopped, and I was very, very sad and very lonely for God. And I didn't know what awakening was. I just had had this experience of the divine, and I just wanted that. So we were introduced into oneness in a certain way, and we went to India. And as soon as I got onto the oneness campus, I just started to cry, started to sob, because I felt the love again. I felt this unbelievably undeniable acceptance. In many, many ways, acceptance was love. For me, it was, and that's just too simple a way to put it, but I still didn't know what awakening was, and I still was suffering. And after awakening, this is a tricky question for me because suffering sometimes is still here, it seems, but there's not a solid person who's experiencing it, and that's the difference. So I'm kind of in a process of the mind settling down. Bhagavan often says that once you've awakened, it's like a train stopping, the brakes are screeching. And so that's kind of what I'm experiencing right now, is the screeching of the brakes. And there's much less solidity to everything, much less identification with a particular being inside here who's experiencing. And there's a lot more experience of the divine, of love. And I'm falling in love with everyone I see. And it's just, and they're no different from me. There's just no difference. And it's just exquisite. And my relationships are so sweet. The relationships with both of my daughters are so totally, and they feel totally healed. Maybe they're not completely healed, but our family is just like rolling in happiness and love for each other. And it's so simple. It feels like, I wish I had this years and years ago. And our relationship, Peter's and my relationship, is just so quiet, so appreciative. One of the charges, we call them charges, emotional charges, that disappeared was, I used to be very irritated with him. And I thought he was the one that was very irritating. Until I came back from India and I realized that he'd stopped being irritating. And then I thought a little more about it, and I thought, gee, nothing really is irritating. So it's the perception in here that had changed. So it's pretty magical.
Thank you. Okay, who has a question?
Would you call that sadness that you are referring to, would you also call it longing?
Yes, absolutely, longing. Longing for union.
Thank you. Peter, did you also experience that longing?
Yeah, I did when I was young. It really dissolved in that experience in 1976. There was just this sort of frustration with no one being really able to explain what I was experiencing. And I was involved in an organization with a teacher, but the explanations were concepts. Like they'd say, oh, your state of awareness when you're awakened is unboundedness. And I was waiting for things to be big. And unboundedness means unbound. That your experience doesn't bind. It's just experience. We have so many concepts, especially if we've been on the spiritual path for a long time. Even if you've only had one teacher, but if you've had multiple teachers and teachings that you've been exposed to, there are just so many things. And you know what's magic? They just dissolve in awakening. There comes a point where grace just is there, and all of the concepts dissolve. And for some people that's like very quick, and for other people they struggle with the dissolving and the getting comfortable with the change. And I don't know, there are 30 people in here, there'll be 30 different experiences of what awakening is like.
Thank you.
I have a question about the process of when the grace is being transmitted to your eyes. There's different expressions that you have. Sometimes you're smiling or laughing. Sometimes it seems like there's deep grief. Sometimes it looks like there's incredible spaciousness and peace. And I was hoping to get a better understanding if that's your, obviously, I guess it's your experience, but is that an energetic dynamic that's happening with the person that you're looking at? Are you resonating with them or mirroring back what you're picking up? Are you understanding what I'm asking?
Yes, a good question. A lot of people ask this question, and there's absolutely no connection between the person that you're looking at and their experience. We're not trying to make a particular experience happen. We're not thinking about a particular thing. There's no connection in that way. It's just a spontaneous inner experience that we're having. I can't even really tell you or name or label what I'm experiencing as it's going on. It's just happening.
One other question.
Can I ask, to clarify something? When we talk about, when we say the oneness meditation is a transmission through the eyes of divine energy, it's not something that like goes zoom. It's not like that. We invite the divine. The divine comes, and the divine does the same thing with you. And where do you think that divine was before it, quote, came to you? It was right there, inside you. So the oneness meditation is an experience of the divine waking up inside you. Not like the divine ever went to sleep inside you, but you were sleeping. And the divine simply wakes you up. But you had another question.
Yeah, that really made me pop and think maybe you answered it. I was going to ask if either gender or personality of the individual all meditators that you're transmitting the grace in any way flavors or colors the way that's experienced. But from what you just said, I'm thinking no.
It's your experience. And when we offer the oneness meditation, we are having an experience with our divine. Every oneness meditator is having an experience with their divine. You see smiles, you see tears, you see grief. That is the oneness meditator's experience with their divine. The room just becomes alive with divine energy, and you have your own experience with your divine. The difference between being awakened and not being awakened is the difference between living linearity and living non-linearity. So you can think, oh, they did that, they looked at me, this happened, that happened. But that's not what's really happening. You can experience it that way, and there are probably many people who haven't heard this answer who've come to a wellness meditation, experienced it, and gone out and said, wow, that person really transmitted something unbelievable to me. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. It's not like you're not going to get awakened because you didn't get it. You had an experience on your level of consciousness. It was a linear experience. What else could it be? You experience everything from your own level of consciousness. And sometimes we answer things from a different level of consciousness just to open up possibilities.
Thank you. Thank you, Bianca. Let me
I probably can present. So what is the purpose of the awakening of the eyes if we're not transmitting between you and us?
A being like Bhagavan, beings like Brahma and Bhagavan, take what's called a sankalpa, which is a very strong intent for something to happen. And the intent that they have taken in connection with the oneness meditation is that we practice it in a particular way, and you practice participating in it in a particular way. Participating in that way fulfills the intent that when you do that, this will happen. It's just that simple. If they had said, it's going to come through the nose, you should look at the nose, that's what it would be. Or the ears, whatever they had taken as the sankalpa would have been the mechanism for the manifestation of the divine.
Did that answer what you were asking?
Thank you.
I like feel everything energetically. So for the first session, I would go in the room and I was out there, so I didn't even see the eyes that filled up. Had the experience with that. And when I do like the webcast with Bhagavan, it's the same. And so I'm like wondering why, there's all these different avenues to have this kind of experience. Like, wasn't Bhagavan's thing enough? Or is it different in the same? You see what I'm saying? Like, why all of a sudden would you say other things? Because it sort of feels like we're leaving him behind, like, oh, Saturday night, webcast, whatever, I did my webcast this morning. Well, I'm just saying, it's just, yeah.
Well, everything has its place, and different people will be attracted to different things and doing different processes. So it's really about just really doing what you feel you resonate with.
The divine is everything has some kind of drive behind it, some purpose. And there are people who play certain roles. There are trainers, there are blessing givers, there are blessing receivers. There are trainers who are really articulate like in an intellectual kind of way, and there are trainers whose hearts are just wide open, and people flock to them for that reason. Other people go to somebody else because something else, their mind is really sharp. And some people are chosen to do the oneness meditation thing. And every role that everybody plays is just right for them, whatever it is. I can't tell you why being a oneness meditator is right for me. It feels like it's right for me. And for someone who's a trainer, that experience for them is just right for them. And the divine has just put everybody in the place that they're in for them to be able to grow in a particular way.
That's usually enough for the mind. The mind wants to find out a reason. It's just good to notice that. It's so normal. It's just what the mind does. The mind wants to find out a reason why things are a certain way.
But energetically, and I didn't notice it just seemed like variation. I'm thinking like these flowers and trying to get those different flowers. You know, so I was just like you said, like for a moment, it's like, oh, I wonder how come so many different flowers.
But you know what your mind is doing? Exactly what everybody's mind does. What's the answer?
Doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
Some people might notice a complete difference.
Yeah.
Some other person might notice a big difference. And that's their experience.
And it's just, you know what it is? It's the mind doing what it does to destroy the mystery of life. Pardon me?
the mind's a terrorist.
Yes, it comes in and bam. Yeah, it's like you're a little kid, the first time you see a magic trick. How'd that happen? Do that? And you really get deflated when you find out it was dropped it down his sleeve. Yeah, thank you. But that's what the mind does. It destroys the mystery of life. And that's what awakening undoes. It quiets, the mind becomes quiet, and the mystery of life is all that remains. Stuff happens and you don't even ask.
You just experience.
I would like to thank you for all your own meditations on the web. I experienced them in Sweden as well as here in Mount Shasta half of the time. And here in Mount Shasta, it brings me up early in the morning, very early. I think it's good for me. Makes a good start of the day.
Gets me up even earlier. I'm ready to do that.
I know that. I see this as real service work. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. But you know what? It's so people say, "Oh, thank you so much for doing the Om." It's like, thank you so much for opening your Christmas presents in front of me. It's such a wonderful experience, but I appreciate being appreciated.
Yes, I understand. I have a question also, and you have had this, I guess, many times, these questions, most from maybe meditation teachers. So I was there in the early 70s, very active, and we talked about sleep. And is it a common experience about the people who are awakened that they witness sometimes sleep? Body is asleep and you are awake.
So you practice TM?
Yes. Yes. I knew you would recognize it.
So witnessing sleep is a dead giveaway. Yeah, because that's what Maharishi said was the litmus test of being awakened.
Yeah.
What is that?
He called it witnessing sleep. You can pretend you're witnessing waking state because, like, one part of the mind can be saying that it's witnessing something else happening in the mind when it's awake and things are going on. But you can't fake it with sleep because the mind